fairly light content. Okay, this is the kind of content that most of you probably heard about in different places. What is attribution? What's the foundations? What is last click? Why are my numbers not matching? A lot of the problem statements you probably heard. We're going to dive a little deeper and set the foundation for advanced attribution. And as we go into multiple sessions, we'll dig deeper and deeper into the approaches, the data science, the analytics, and essentially give you an idea as to this is to be a boot camp in some sense, so that end of the next 2 weeks, you should be able to go and pursue attribution projects fairly independently. Number one, have a bunch of resources in terms of material that you can always access and have that come along with you in your experience of trying to solve attribution in your different contexts. And third is be a part of a community. So hopefully all of you guys have had a chance to come be part of the msquared.club Slack channel, and all of us will be there. And hopefully you can take us with you in your journey and for us to be wingman in your journey. And at any point in time, if you want a query about any specific type of attribution expertise, we're hopefully available to help support you through the journey. Okay. All right. Any questions before I start? Okay. All right. Let's jump in. This is me about the Educator. Been in attribution, unfortunately, for many, many years. This is, I think, my 15th or 16th year in attribution, depending on how I count it. I've done a lot of work across the spectrum of attribution, all the way from, actually working on the agency side, where I kind of developed a lot of the original thinking on multi-touch attribution back in 2007-8 timeframe. Then launched an attribution company with Visual IQ. Joined them as a very, very early team in 2010, and then we built out a multi-touch attribution space as part of that category. Then eventually went out, did consulting, then developed incrementality technology, then launched Measured. Now I'm trying something new, just to kind of build a community around attribution so that we can democratize access to the science and the tools of attribution, so it can be more effective and more valuable for brands and marketers and data scientists around the world. Okay. That's me. All right. So let's jump in. All right. You guys can hear me okay? Audio's okay? All right. Okay. So this is the beginnings, right? Now, what's happened is that over the last 20 years, right, consumers have become more and more online, have changed their behavior to spend more and more time online. Okay. If you go back 1998, 97, 98, there was barely any websites. You probably used to use dial-up internet to dial into your email, maybe Yahoo Mail or Gmail or whatnot back in those days. But you were not online all the time. So now what's happened, if you fast forward, is that people are online all the time. So if you are a marketer or if you are part of a brand, and if you kind of see how consumers are experiencing your brand, you're touching them across multiple channels through multiple weeks or months before they ever make a purchase, right? Here's an example where you might have served them some ads on Snap, and they might have, you might have served them some ads on Facebook, and they might have actually engaged on one of those ads, right? Eventually come to your site and then come back and search again, and through, let's say, a branded search or a branded query, and eventually convert, right? Well, this is what's happening across all brands and across all consumers. And the consumer journey has now become robustly cross-channel, but attribution has still more or less remained the same. So there was something called last click attribution. A lot of you might already know what that means. But the idea of last click attribution was initially born because of how easy it was to implement. Okay, I remember having this conversation with some original architects of the Omniture platform, and they kind of defined the last click model because that was the only meaningful thing to do back then. Okay, there's something called the referring URL in a session. If you go to your browser, if you look at even today, if you look at the referrer, it'll tell you what was the last page that referred the consumer to this, or the user to this page. That's called the referring URL. So the idea behind last click attribution was to look at the session's referring URL and use that as the source to attribute credit for any transacting session, so to speak, right? Now, it just turns out that was kind of as much of a causal hand raiser event as you could find back in those days, but the world has moved significantly, but we use more or less the same kind of approach, last click attribution approach, even today for defining credit, okay? Now, why is this a problem, right? Now, when you look at this behavior, for example, you touch your consumers across multiple channels, but eventually the credit for driving the purchase goes to the very last click. In this particular case, Google. So a very common consumer behavior today is that you might see an ad for a product you like on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or wherever it is, but eventually you'll be like, I don't want to disrupt my browsing behavior right now because I'm just taking a 5-minute break before I jump into my next meeting. Then eventually you might come back and search for that product and then land on the site and convert. So Google ends up getting a lot of credit for driving the purchase in this particular use case. And when you look at this behavior through the lens of Google Analytics, the web analytics platform, what you'll find is that Google properties will be over attributed in this use case. And you will find that Facebook and more upper funnel properties like Facebook, TikTok, Snap, whatever it is, will have kind of a low baseline for credit. And lower funnel properties like SEO, PPC, all the Google properties generally will have much higher credit. Okay. So this